Sir, step away from the entrance. Immigration enforcement, we need to see documentation.
I'm a veteran. I'm here for my VA appointment. I'm not going anywhere.
Doesn't matter. We need to verify your status, ID, and proof of citizenship now.
I'm the chief of police of this city. I served 2 tours in Desert Storm, and you're detaining me outside of VA hospital.
Sure you are. Hands on the wall. Don't make this difficult.
Chief William Ray Davison had arrived at the Michael E. DeBakey VA Medical Center in Houston at 8:15 that Tuesday morning, the same way he had arrived every 6 weeks for the past 11 years. Early, because that's how soldiers do things, and alone, because some appointments you don't talk about. The shrapnel in his left knee had never fully healed. 3 small pieces of Iraqi metal, souvenirs from a convoy ambush outside Basra in February 1991. The Army doctors had gotten most of it out, but the fragments that remained had shifted over the years, pressing against nerves, grinding against bone. Some days he barely noticed. Other days, like today, he needed a cortisone injection just to walk without limping. He had parked in the veterans' lot, hung his disabled veteran placard from the mirror, and was walking toward the entrance when he noticed the white SUV pulling up behind him. 2 men, federal plates, tactical vests. The letters on the vests were visible even from 30 feet away. Police ICE. He had been a cop for 30 years. He knew what this was before they even opened their doors. At 8:22 a.m., Agent Victor Mendez's body camera began recording what would become one of the largest civil rights verdicts in Texas history. Before we continue, drop your city in the comments. Where are you watching from, and if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Stories like this don't get told unless we tell them, and your support helps us bring more people to the truth. Chief William Ray Davison was 56 years old. He had been the chief of police for the city of Pearland, Texas, a suburb of Houston with a population of 125,000, for the past 8 years, and before that, he had worn a badge for 22 years, starting as a patrol officer in Houston at age 26. But before he was a cop, he was a soldier. He was born in Galveston, Texas in 1968, in the same hospital where his mother had been born 30 years earlier. His father, Master Sergeant Henry Davison, was a career Army man, 31 years of service, 3 tours in Vietnam, a chest full of medals including a Silver Star for pulling 2 wounded soldiers out of a burning helicopter near Da Nang in 1969. Henry Davison had raised his son on military bases across Texas and the world: Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, Ramstein in Germany, Camp Humphreys in Korea. William had learned to shoot before he learned to drive. He had learned to salute before he learned to dance. And when he turned 18, there was never any question about what came next. He enlisted in the Army in 1986, following his father's footsteps into a world of discipline, duty, and sacrifice. He served with the 1st Cavalry Division at Fort Hood, trained as a combat medic, and was deployed to Saudi Arabia in August 1990 when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Operation Desert Shield. Then Operation Desert Storm. Then the ground war. 4 days of chaos and violence that would stay with him for the rest of his life. The convoy ambush happened on February 26, 1991, 2 days before the ceasefire. William was riding in the 3rd vehicle when the IED detonated. The Humvee in front of him disappeared in a ball of fire. His own vehicle flipped. He woke up in a field hospital with shrapnel in his knee, his arm and his shoulder, and the screams of his dying friends still echoing in his ears. He received the Bronze Star for pulling 2 soldiers from the wreckage despite his own injuries. He received the Purple Heart for the wounds that would never fully heal. He received an honorable discharge in 1992 and came home to a country that had already moved on to the next news cycle. The nightmares took years to fade. The knee pain never did. His father, Henry, had passed in 2015 at the age of 77, surrounded by family, with full military honors at Houston National Cemetery. His mother, Loretta, was still alive at 86, living in a nursing home in Galveston, her mind slowly fading but her eyes still lighting up when William walked through the door every Sunday. William had joined the Houston Police Department in 1994, 2 years after his discharge. He had spent his adult life in service, first to his country, then to his community. He had worked narcotics, SWAT, internal affairs. He had been shot twice in the line of duty. He had made detective at 34, sergeant at 38, lieutenant at 42, captain at 48, and chief at 48 when Pearland recruited him to rebuild their department after a corruption scandal. In 8 years as chief, he had transformed Pearland PD. Crime was down 34%. Community trust was up. He had implemented body cameras before the state required them, created a crisis intervention team for mental health calls, and established a citizen review board that actually had teeth. He was known statewide as a reformer, a bridge builder, a cop's cop who understood that the badge meant nothing without the trust of the people who wore it. His wife, Dr. Angela Davison, was a professor of criminal justice at the University of Houston. They had been married for 28 years. Their son, Marcus, was 26 and a first-year resident at Baylor College of Medicine. Their daughter, Jasmine, was 23 and in her second year of law school at UT Austin. Everything William had built, every sacrifice, every wound, every sleepless night had led to this life. A family that loved him, a career that mattered, a legacy that would outlive him. And now he was standing in the parking lot of the VA hospital, watching 2 federal agents walk toward him like he was a suspect. Agent Victor Mendez was 38 years old. He had been with Immigration and Customs Enforcement for 9 years, working out of the Houston field office. He had a reputation for aggressiveness, for pushing boundaries, for treating every encounter like a potential arrest. His partner, Agent Derek Sullivan, was 35 and had been with ICE for 6 years. He was quieter, more cautious, but he had never once stopped Mendez from doing what Mendez wanted to do. They had been conducting surveillance on a house 4 blocks from the VA hospital, watching for a man with an outstanding deportation order. They hadn't found him. They were driving past the hospital when Mendez spotted Chief Davison walking across the parking lot. What Mendez saw was a black man with a slight limp walking alone toward a federal building. What he decided, in that moment, based on nothing but assumption, was that this man warranted investigation. "Sir, step away from the entrance. Immigration enforcement. We need to see documentation." Chief Davison stopped walking. He turned slowly, favoring his left knee, and faced the agents. His face showed no fear, only the weary recognition of a man who had faced far worse than 2 federal agents with something to prove. "I'm a veteran. I'm here for my VA appointment. I'm not going anywhere. Doesn't matter. We need to verify your status. ID and proof of citizenship. Now." Chief Davison's jaw tightened. 30 years of law enforcement. 34 years since he took the oath to defend this country. And this is what it came to. "I'm the chief of police of this city. I served 2 tours in Desert Storm. And you're detaining me outside a VA hospital." Mendez's body camera captured his response. A smirk, a dismissive shake of his head. "Sure you are. Hands on the wall. Don't make this difficult." Should federal agents be allowed to detain veterans outside VA hospitals based on nothing but their appearance? Comment below, because what happened next would expose how far unchecked authority can go, even on ground that should be sacred to every American. Chief Davison did not put his hands on the wall. "I will not put my hands on anything. I am an American citizen. I was born in Galveston, Texas. My father served 31 years in the United States Army, including 3 tours in Vietnam. I served 6 years, including combat in Operation Desert Storm. I have the scars on my body to prove it. I have been the chief of police of Pearland for 8 years. And I am telling you clearly for your body camera that you have no legal basis to detain me." His voice carried the authority of a man who had commanded soldiers and police officers, who had made life-and-death decisions under fire, who had never backed down from anything in his life. "My name is William Ray Davison, badge number 001. I am a combat veteran with a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart. I am here for a medical appointment at a VA hospital. A hospital that exists because this country made a promise to the men and women who served it, and you are violating that promise right now." Mendez's face flushed. The body camera captured it, the anger of a man who wasn't used to being challenged. "I don't care about your medals. When ICE asks for documentation, you provide it." "No, agent. That's not how this works. I know exactly how this works because I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. You have no reasonable suspicion. You have no probable cause. You approached me based on nothing but my appearance. That is racial profiling, and it is unconstitutional." Other people were beginning to notice. A man in a wheelchair near the entrance, Vietnam era, from the look of his cap, was watching intently. A woman helping her elderly father out of a car had stopped, her phone already rising. A group of 3 veterans smoking near the designated area had turned to face the confrontation. "What's going on here?" The voice came from the hospital entrance. A man in a white coat was walking toward them, his VA badge visible on his chest. His name tag read, Dr. James Okonkwo, Chief of Psychiatry. "This doesn't concern you, sir. Federal business." "Federal business at my hospital? With one of my patients?" Dr. Okonkwo looked at Chief Davison. "Chief, are you all right? These agents seem to think I need to prove I'm an American citizen before I can attend my VA appointment." Dr. Okonkwo's expression hardened. "This man is a decorated combat veteran. He has been my patient for 7 years. He served this country in Desert Storm and has the wounds to prove it. What possible justification do you have for detaining him?" Mendez turned toward the doctor. "Sir, this is immigration enforcement. I need you to step back." "I will not step back. This is a VA hospital. This is federal property dedicated to the care of American veterans. And you are harassing a man who bled for this country. Do you understand where you are? Do you understand who you're talking to?" The crowd was growing. 10 veterans now, 15. Men in wheelchairs, men with canes, men with prosthetic limbs. The visible costs of wars that most Americans had already forgotten. They were watching, they were recording, and their faces showed something more dangerous than anger. They showed recognition. This could be any of them. Sullivan, the younger agent, stepped close to Mendez and spoke quietly. The body camera audio captured it clearly. "Vic, maybe we should verify. If he's really a police chief, he's not. Look at him. Probably a con artist working the veteran angle." The words were captured, recorded, preserved forever. Chief Davison heard them. His face didn't change, but his hand moved slowly toward his pocket. "I am going to reach into my jacket and remove my credentials. My wallet contains my police chief badge, my retired military ID, and my Texas driver's license showing my birthplace as Galveston. I am also going to call my deputy chief, who can confirm my identity in 30 seconds. He moved deliberately, pulling his badge case from his inside pocket. He opened it and held it up. The badge was unmistakable. Pearland Police Department, Chief of Police, his photograph, his name. Mendez stared at the badge. The body camera captured his face, the first crack of doubt. "Badges can be faked." "Then call the Pearland Police Department. The number is public. Ask for Deputy Chief Martinez. She's expecting me to be late because of my appointment, but I'm sure she'd be happy to explain to your supervisors why 2 of their agents are about to become defendants in a federal lawsuit." He was already dialing. The phone rang twice. "Martinez, it's Davison. I'm at the VA hospital in Houston. 2 ICE agents have detained me in the parking lot and are demanding proof of citizenship. They don't believe I'm the chief. I need you to contact the Houston ICE field office and explain the situation." "Yes, right now." He held the phone toward Mendez. "Deputy Chief Elena Martinez would like to speak with you." Mendez didn't take the phone. Neither did Sullivan. The phone sat in Chief Davison's outstretched hand for 15 seconds. Deputy Chief Martinez's voice could be heard through the speaker, demanding to know what was happening. Finally, Sullivan stepped forward and took the phone. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. Sullivan's face went through several transformations: skepticism, confusion, recognition, and finally something that looked like fear. He ended the call and handed the phone back to Chief Davison. "Vic, he's really a police chief." Pearland confirmed it. "His department has already notified Houston PD. Their chief is making calls. We need to leave. Now." But Mendez had already done it. The body camera captured the moment. Mendez grabbing Chief Davison's arm, spinning him toward the wall, shoving him against the rough brick of the VA hospital. The click of handcuffs closing around the wrists of a decorated combat veteran, a 30-year law enforcement officer, a man who had bled for this country twice over. "You're being detained for obstruction and failure to comply." "I did not obstruct anything. I did not fail to comply with any lawful order." This is false arrest. And you are being recorded by your own body camera, by hospital security cameras, and by approximately 20 veterans who served this country and are watching you handcuff one of their own outside a VA hospital. His voice was steady. 30 years of training. Stay calm. Document everything. Survive. The crowd of veterans had grown to nearly 30. Some were shouting. Some were filming. Some were making calls. And one, the man in the wheelchair, the one with the Vietnam cap, had rolled himself directly in front of the ICE vehicle. You're not taking him anywhere. His voice was graveled, aged, but it carried across the parking lot. I'm Sergeant First Class Robert Chen, retired, 173rd Airborne, 2 tours in Vietnam. That man is a brother veteran, and you're going to have to go through me to put him in that vehicle. Other veterans were moving now, positioning themselves around the SUV. Men who had faced enemy fire. Men who had lost limbs, lost friends, lost pieces of themselves in service to this country. Men who understood exactly what was happening and had decided, without a word being spoken, that they would not let it continue. "This is obstruction of federal officers," Mendez shouted. "All of you will be arrested." "Then start arresting," Chen replied. "Start with me. I'm 74 years old and I've got nothing left to lose, but I've got something to protect. And so does every man here." The standoff lasted 11 minutes. It ended when 3 Houston police cruisers pulled into the parking lot, lights flashing. Behind them, an unmarked vehicle. Behind that, a news van that had picked up the story from a scanner. Houston Police Chief Maria Santos stepped out of the unmarked car. She was 54 years old, a 30-year veteran of HPD, and she had a look on her face that suggested several careers were about to end. "Take the cuffs off. Now." Mendez hesitated. "That wasn't a request, Agent. That's Chief William Davison. He's a decorated combat veteran, a 30-year law enforcement officer, and a personal friend. Take the cuffs off or I will have you arrested for assault on a police officer and hold you until the U.S. Attorney's Office decides what to do with you." The body camera captured Mendez removing the handcuffs. It captured Chief Davison rubbing his wrists, red marks already forming on skin that had been wounded enough for one lifetime. Chief Santos turned to Mendez. "I want your name, your badge number, and your supervisor's contact information. And I want to understand, clearly, what reasonable suspicion you had to detain Chief Davison." Mendez had no answer. The body camera captured his silence. "That's what I thought. Because the only thing suspicious about Chief Davison is that he's a black man, and that's not suspicious. That's just racist. You harassed a veteran outside a VA hospital, a man who has served this country in ways you can't even imagine, because of the color of his skin." She turned to Chief Davison. "William, are you all right? Do you need medical attention?" "I'm fine, Maria. Just another scar to add to the collection." He looked at the crowd of veterans still surrounding the ICE vehicle. Men he had never met, who had put themselves on the line for him without hesitation. "I'm fine because of them." "Do you think federal agents should face criminal charges for detaining veterans based on racial profiling? Let me know in the comments, because the lawsuit that followed would set a new precedent for civil rights in Texas. The lawsuit was filed 5 weeks later in federal court. William Ray Davison versus the United States Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Agent Victor Mendez and Agent Derek Sullivan. Chief Davison retained civil rights attorney Clarence Washington III of Washington and Associates in Houston, a firm that had won over $150 million in civil rights settlements over the past 20 years. Washington had argued before the Fifth Circuit 7 times and the Supreme Court once. His track record against federal agencies was 31-4. "This case is about the promise we make to our veterans," Washington said at the press conference. "Chief Davison served this country in combat. He bled for this country. He spent 30 years protecting his community. And ICE agents detained him outside a VA hospital, a place that exists specifically to honor our promise to those who served. Because he was black. If a decorated combat veteran, a police chief, isn't safe from racial profiling, then the promise we made to our veterans is worthless." The evidence was overwhelming. Agent Mendez's body camera footage showed the entire confrontation, his approach, his demands, his dismissal of Chief Davison's credentials, and the devastating moment when he called a police chief and combat veteran, probably a con artist working the veteran angle. Sullivan's body camera captured the crowd of veterans forming a protective circle. The VA hospital security cameras captured everything from multiple angles. The cell phone videos from witnesses showed what the body cameras missed. Mendez's personnel file was subpoenaed. It revealed a pattern that should have ended his career years earlier. In 9 years with ICE, Mendez had initiated 187 stops or detentions. Of those, 156 involved Black or Hispanic individuals, 83%. Of those 156, only 29 resulted in confirmed immigration violations. The other 127 were American citizens or legal residents who were stopped, questioned, and humiliated based on nothing but Mendez's assumptions. The file also revealed 5 prior complaints against Mendez, including one from a Hispanic Marine Corps veteran who had been detained outside a military recruiting office, and one from a Black Army nurse who had been stopped in the parking lot of a military hospital. All 5 complaints had been dismissed as unsubstantiated. ICE offered a settlement 6 months before trial, $3 million and a confidentiality agreement. Washington sent back a one-word response. No. They offered $6 million. No. They offered $9 million. My client isn't interested in silence, Washington told their attorneys. He's interested in making sure no other veteran has to experience what he experienced, being treated like a criminal at the very hospital that exists to care for him. See you in court. The trial lasted 4 weeks in federal court in Houston, before a diverse jury in a city that understood the weight of what was being decided. Chief Davison testified for 3 days. He walked the jury through his life. His father's 31 years of military service, his own enlistment at 18, the convoy ambush that left him wounded, the Bronze Star he received for saving 2 lives while bleeding from 3 wounds. He described his transition to law enforcement, his rise through the ranks, his 8 years transforming Pearland PD. He described the morning at the VA hospital, the walk from his car, the agents approaching, the handcuffs closing around wrists that still bore scars from Desert Storm. On cross-examination, the defense attorney suggested that Chief Davison had been uncooperative, that his refusal to immediately provide documentation had escalated the situation. Chief Davison's response was quoted in newspapers across the country. I showed them my police chief badge. I offered my military ID. I offered to have my deputy chief verify my identity. I did everything a cooperative citizen should do, more than any citizen should have to do to attend a medical appointment at a VA hospital. He paused. I have served this country for 36 years, 6 in the Army, 30 in law enforcement. I have been shot twice. I have shrapnel in my knee that will never come out. I have buried friends who died in combat and friends who died in the line of duty. And Agent Mendez looked at me and saw a con artist, not a soldier, not a chief of police, not a man who has given his entire adult life to service, just a Black man who needed to prove he belonged. He leaned forward. What would have satisfied him? What documentation would have been enough? The answer is nothing, because his suspicion wasn't based on anything I did. It was based on what I am, and no amount of service, not combat medals, not 30 years with a badge, not wounds that still ache every morning, can overcome that kind of blindness. Sergeant First Class Robert Chen testified about what he witnessed and why he blocked the ICE vehicle with his wheelchair. I served 2 tours in Vietnam. I lost my legs to a landmine outside Da Nang in 1970. I've spent 54 years in this wheelchair, and I've never once regretted my service. But when I saw those agents handcuff that man, a brother veteran, a man with a Bronze Star, outside the hospital that's supposed to take care of us, something broke in me. He paused. We made a promise to each other over there. We promised that if one of us fell, the others would carry him. We promised that no one gets left behind. And I wasn't about to let those agents put a veteran in the back of their SUV like a criminal, not while I could still roll my chair. Dr. James Okonkwo testified about Chief Davison's 7 years as his patient, about the psychological wounds of combat that never fully heal, and about what it means to violate the sanctuary of a VA hospital. The VA exists because we recognize that those who served have earned something. They've earned care, they've earned respect. They've earned the right to walk into our hospitals without being interrogated about their citizenship. What happened to Chief Davison wasn't just a civil rights violation, it was a betrayal of everything the VA is supposed to represent. Agent Mendez testified in his own defense. Under cross-examination, Washington asked him one question that would define the trial. Agent Mendez, you testified that Chief Davison fit a description. Can you tell the jury what that description was? Mendez was silent for 9 seconds. A male. In the area. A black male walking toward a VA hospital. That was your description? Silence. A black male with a visible limp. A limp caused by shrapnel he received while serving this country in combat. That's what made him suspicious to you? Mendez had no answer. No further questions. The jury deliberated for 6 hours and 40 minutes. When they returned, the courtroom fell silent, liable on all counts. The damages phase took another 4 days. The jury heard expert testimony about the psychological trauma of being profiled while seeking medical care, about the impact on Chief Davison's faith in the federal government he had served, about the message sent to every veteran who watched this trial. The verdict: $13.5 million total. $5.2 million in compensatory damages to Chief Davison for emotional distress, humiliation, and the psychological trauma of being detained outside a VA hospital. $6.8 million in punitive damages against ICE for their pattern of tolerating agents like Mendez, for dismissing complaints, for allowing racial profiling to flourish, even in spaces that should be sacred. $1.5 million in additional damages for the violation of the sensitive locations policy and the particularly egregious nature of detaining a veteran at a VA facility. Agent Victor Mendez was placed on immediate administrative leave following the verdict. 5 months later, after internal review proceedings concluded, he was officially terminated. His federal law enforcement credentials were permanently revoked. Agent Derek Sullivan received a 9-month suspension without pay and was permanently reassigned to administrative duties. The regional IC director, who had dismissed the 5 prior complaints against Mendez, resigned 6 weeks after the verdict. ICE was required to implement sweeping reforms, new training on veteran recognition and sensitive locations, mandatory verification protocols before any detention near VA facilities, enhanced review of all complaints, and quarterly reporting to a federal monitor. The body camera footage from the VA hospital parking lot became required viewing in every ICE training program in the country. Chief William Davison returned to work 2 weeks after the verdict. He had a department to run, a community to serve. He donated $4 million of his settlement to establish the Davison Veterans Defense Fund, providing legal representation for veterans who face civil rights violations. In its first year, the fund represented 47 veterans across Texas. He donated another $1 million to the Wounded Warrior Project, because some wounds never fully heal, but they can be carried together. Sergeant First Class Robert Chen was invited to the Pearland Police Department's annual award ceremony, where Chief Davison presented him with the department's highest civilian honor, the Shield of Courage. "This man served his country in Vietnam and lost his legs doing it," Chief Davison said. And 54 years later, when he saw a brother veteran in trouble, he didn't hesitate. He rolled his wheelchair in front of a federal vehicle and dared them to move him. That's not just courage, that's brotherhood. That's what service looks like. The body camera footage from that Tuesday morning is now shown in federal law enforcement training programs across the country. It shows what happens when agents forget their training, forget their oath, forget that the people they encounter have served this country in ways that demand respect. And it shows Chief William Davison, a combat veteran with a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, a 30-year law enforcement officer, standing in a VA hospital parking lot with his hands cuffed behind his back, not because of anything he did, but because of what he looked like. If you believe that a VA hospital should be sacred ground, that 40 years of service should mean something, that a veteran should be able to attend a medical appointment without being treated like a criminal, hit that subscribe button. Share this video. Tell this story. Because in a country where a decorated combat veteran and police chief can be detained outside a VA hospital for being black, none of us are safe from assumption. The badge didn't protect Chief Davison that day. The veterans did. Men in wheelchairs and men with canes, men who had already given more than most people ever will, standing up one more time because that's what brothers do. That's what they couldn't take from him. That's what they'll never take from any of us. Not if we keep watching. Not if we keep recording. Not if we keep telling these stories until they finally stop happening. Chief Davison still goes to the VA hospital every 6 weeks. The shrapnel in his knee still aches. The nightmares from Desert Storm still come sometimes. But now, when he walks from his car to the entrance, other veterans nod at him. They know his story. They know he's one of them. And somewhere in that parking lot, there's always someone watching, making sure it never happens again. Some ground is sacred. Some promises are worth keeping. And some brothers never leave each other behind.